so let me set up. Okay, so this is the Mirabel handbag, and it is a pattern that I designed for Alchemat's collaboration for their August box. And here's what the bag looks like. This is my third bag that I made, and this is what you will see in the instruction video. So yeah, just finished it. It looks so good, so pretty. I love it. It's perfect. It has these zippers on the back and then the same zippers on the front. So when you open it up with this magnet closure right here, you can just go ahead and insert all your things in there. I usually just put my phone and sometimes my wallet in there. And then back here is the same thing. You can just use it as a slip pocket. But these zippers do go down just like this. And you can put your stuff in there. And it has the gussets on the side, so it stops your things from just falling down, and for the flap to stop from falling down as well. So those are the pockets. Then the inside has these zipper plackets here. I don't really like having zipper plackets on top when I have a magnet, or magnet flap, but I know that a lot of people do. So I went ahead and included that in there, and I usually just keep this open and unzipped when I'm using my bag. And the inside is very roomy. You have a zipper pocket in here, and I've added my bag tags and a tag right here. That's from Mormino. I love her tags. And yeah, that's the inside. And let me show you this handle here. You can carry your bag using the handle just like this, or you can use it as a shoulder bag, or a crossbody bag if your strap is long enough for that. So for the sides, I use these D-rings, but you can also use strap anchors like I did here. The default for the pattern is using strap anchors or anchor straps, and I have those as the default, but I also have instructions at the end where I show you how to install these D-rings with a hidden connector method. So that's this one. And for this bag, I used this chain from Alchemat's, and it matches the bag very well. I just left it off because it's kind of loud. Okay, and you can also use webbing or straps. 1 inch is fine. I have the instructions for 2 inches. So if you want to make a 1.5 inches, sorry, 1.5 inch straps, I have the instructions on how to do that. In the video, I don't show instructions on how to put the straps together, but the instructions are very detailed, so I have no, I don't think you will have any issues on making the 1.5 inch straps without a video. So yeah, here is the Mirabel backpack. You can find the pattern on my website. I'll have the website link in the descriptions, and the materials list will also be in the descriptions, along with the materials list will be in the descriptions, as well as on the website, and of course the pattern. Okay, let's get started. So here are the hardware that I'm using. I'm going to be using a decorative magnet. And then these will be for the front and back pockets. These I will use for the strap anchors that go on the handle, on the flap. And then I'll be using D-rings for the strap. And then these two will be one for the zipper pocket inside, and then for the placket zipper. And then I have some rivets for the handles and straps. Here's all my pieces cut out. This is piece A, the flap, and then I have the Decaville Heavy already fused there, and then this is the interior. And again, you want to make sure that you followed the instruction for the flap, having the interior shorter than the exterior. For the handle connectors, I'll be using strap anchors. So this is what I'll be using. And if you're going to do the hidden connectors method, you'll need 2 of them like this. And then piece C is handle connector facing. That's going to be for the hidden connectors as well. And then I have the handle here, and I'm using this same vinyl for the exterior, and this is going to be very thick because you're going to be folding it twice. So once in the middle and then again, and then when you attach it to your handle connector like this, it's going to be folded over again. So that's double the layers that you have. So you want to make sure that you know the materials you're working with. If you're working with a thick vinyl like this, you may or may not be able to sew through depending on your machine. So I know that I'm going to have difficulty sewing this through. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my rivets and put rivets on my handles instead of sewing them down. Piece E is accordion gussets. You'll need 4 of them, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. And then piece F is the front and back pockets, and you will need front pocket exterior, and then I'm using this for the interior, so it's going to look like this. And then you're going to need your back exterior and back interior, so it's going to look like that. Piece G is your exterior sides, and I put Decaville Light on the back. And then what I'll be doing with this is I'll be doing hidden connectors using D-rings instead of strap anchors. So I'm going to need the connector facing, which is this one, and then handle connectors, which is these 2. Piece H is exterior, front, and back panel. And then piece I is the bottom panel. You want the exterior and interior. I'm using waterproof canvas for the interior. For the exterior, I'm using this same vinyl, and I use Decaville Heavy. Piece J is your pocket overlay. Piece K is the interior bottom panel. Piece L is my zipper pocket. I'm using waterproof canvas for this as well. And then piece M are my 2 zipper plackets, and then my interior top panel. So I have both of these, and this is vinyl that I'm using. And then O for the interior top sides. I have 2 of them. And then interior bottom sides, and this is waterproof canvas. Piece Q is my zipper end. And then piece R and S are your strap ends and strap connectors. And I'll be using a chain, so I won't need these 2 pieces. And then I have my 2 zipper tapes for the front pocket and 2 zipper tapes for the back pocket. Those will go with these, so I'm going to go ahead and clip them together. So here's the front, and then here's the back. For the final assembly of this bag, you're going to have an interior and exterior bag piece, and the finishing method for that is by birthing. However, if you know that your bag is going to be too thick to birth through about a 7-inch gap hole, then you can do the binding method. So I'm going to be binding my bag using the same vinyl as I'm using for the interior flap and the interior top and sides. The first step is to install your magnet if you're just using a normal magnet. Now for me, I'm using this decorative magnet, so I will be skipping step 1, but I'll show you how you're supposed to do it for just a normal magnet. So for this part, you want to use this part of the magnet, the lighter one, instead of the heavier one. It doesn't really matter that much, but that's just my preference, is using this one. So you want to have this piece and then the washer that goes with it. Now I'm using vinyl, but if you're using canvas, you want to have your pieces interfaced. And so for this first part, what you're going to need is your interior flap, and you're going to want either a scrap of Decavol Light or Decavol Heavy, and you just want to fuse it right here where your magnet is going to go, and that will help make sure that your magnet stays in place. So you're going to take your pattern, and on the wrong side of it, you're going to place it right on top and mark where your magnet is going to go. Or you can also just measure 2 inches from the bottom center and mark where your magnet will go. You're going to take your washer, put the little hole right there, right where you marked it, and then you're going to mark 2 lines where those gaps in the washer is, and that's where you want to cut so that your prongs can go right through. Once you have the cuts in there, you're going to take your washer, put it right over, and then you're going to take your magnet and place it on the right side, right through here, and then the prongs right through. Now I didn't do mine, but you're going to place it like this, and then you're going to push the prongs out. And then once you do that, you can take a duct tape or interfacing and cover that up. So that way, once you have your flap together, it's not going to rub on the back side of your flap, and it won't damage it. Okay, so since I don't have a normal magnet and I'm using a decorative magnet, I'm skipping that part and I'm going to step 2, and that's adding my strap anchors. So for this, you're going to want your exterior piece, and you can use your pattern for this, or you can measure 3/4 of an inch in from the sides and then 2 5/8 down from the top. So I'm going to go on the back side, on the wrong side of the exterior flap, and I'm going to use my pattern just because it's easier and I don't want to measure, and I'm just going to draw a line right here and right here, and that's going to tell me where I need to put my washers for the strap anchors. Just like most hardware, your strap anchors are going to look very different. So here are some different backings that I have from the same looking strap anchors. It just all depends on the manufacturer or supplier that is making them. So they're gonna all look different, so you can have any combination of these. These are all washers for the strap anchors. They're just from different suppliers. So what you want to do is have them on the inside of the line that you drew. It doesn't matter what kind they are, you just want them to be on the inside, because if you have them on the outside or in the middle or just anywhere else except for the inside, you won't be able to sew the exterior flap to the interior flap and have the correct seam allowance that you need. So on the wrong side of your exterior vinyl, you're going to take your strap connector and your washers already attached, and you just want to find where you need to put your washers. So what I do is I press down, and then I can see where the prongs were. So I'm going to mark here and here and here and here, and that's where I need to do my cuts. So when I put my washers on there, then I know where it's supposed to be. That's where I need to do my cuts. I'm gonna do the same for this one. So I'm just gonna set it down, and then I'm gonna press down just so I can get an indent. And then I'll mark where those indents are. I'm just going over them just to make sure that I have the correct spots. That one was pretty good. Okay. Now I'm going to take my seam ripper and I'm going to cut out those lines just a little bit. You want to be careful that you don't make the line too long. Okay, I have the prongs in. So now I'm going to add the washers back here. Alright, and then I'm going to fold this in because I don't want the prongs to get in the way of my seam allowance. Just make sure that you push your washer down all the way. And then I'm going to press this to the inside. You can press it the other way. You can press these prongs this way. But I don't think this part matters too much. So I pressed it to the inside. Just make sure it's as flat as it can be. And then I'm going to take my duct tape and I'm going to tape this back part. So it's just going to go right there. Here's what it looks like from the front. And then you're going to take your interior piece here and you just want to place them right side together. Clip all around. Now, because I have these strap anchors in, it's going to curve up a little bit, so you want to make sure that you have the edges lined up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clip all around until I get to this other side and see if it wants to lift up or if I can clip it so that the edges match up without it lifting up. I have this sewn at 3/8 of an inch. Here's how I trimmed the corners, or I clipped the corners. And you can do it however you like, but this is how I like to do mine. So I'm gonna turn this right side out. Okay, now you just want to push those corners out, and I usually just use my stiletto slash seam ripper tool, just this rounded piece here, and you just push those out. So I have this right side out, and I just want to make sure that my seams are all rolled out and everything is flat, pushed out, and there's not going to be any weird bubbles or anything. And then I do this to the corner just to push out the corner. Rolling the seams again, making sure all the seams are pushed out. And then what you can do also is, if your vinyl keeps trying to puff out, is you can just clip them, like as you're rolling it out, just clip. I have all of the edges clipped, everything is pushed out, it looks very neat. So I'm going to top stitch all around at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Here is the flap, top stitched. Now the next step is to add your decorative magnet. If you already added a magnet in step 1, then you can skip this part. But here's how you add the decorative magnet. Here's what I have, and it's going to look like this at the front. So what you want to do is go on the back, and you're going to want to separate your decorative magnet piece, front and back piece. And then you're going to take the back piece and you're going to line it up with this part here. So you can either use your pattern or you can measure 2 inches from the center bottom. After you've marked that center line 2 inches from the bottom, you want to take your back piece for your magnet and you want to put the dot right here, right there in that hole. And what you want to do now is you want to poke 3 holes, or however many holes you have for your screw to go into. So mine has 3, 1, 2, 3, and you also want to cut slits on either side of the middle hole for the prongs. So then you're going to need the back plate of your magnet and then one of these. And for the flap, I like to use the thinner one, the more light one. So that's this one. I'm going to use it for the flap, and then the other one I'm going to save for the front of the bag. So you want to put this together like that, and then you want to put the prongs through the cuts that you made. Then here you can either fold the prongs out, or you can fold the prongs in. For this one, because I have a wider area on the sides, I'm going to fold them out. But if your area is too narrow, you can fold them in. You can even use a hammer just to flatten it out even more. You just want to be careful though that you don't damage anything. Now you're going to get the front part of your magnet and you're going to line it up with the screws, or with the holes for the screws. Magnet is installed to the front flap. Next step is adding your handles. So you're going to take your handles and then you want to put double-sided tape on the top and bottom sides just to make sure that they stay in place. You can also just use clips if you prefer. Now I'm going to find the center of the handle and I'm going to draw a line straight across. Now you're going to remove the double-sided tape backing and then fold the long edges in towards the middle. So again, this is going to be fairly thick because I'm folding it twice, and then when I attach it to the handle, I'm folding it in again. So I'll only be able to use a rivet to attach the handle. So if you're going to do the same thing I am, because you have thick vinyl, then I suggest adding 2 rivets to each side. So once you have your handle like this, it's 1 inch wide, you're going to top stitch. Here's the handle, and then what you want to do is you want to attach the ends of the handle to the strap anchors. So do this first one here, and you want to go at least 1 inch. Fold it over, and then what you're going to do is clip it and then sew around here. You can do 2 stitches on the ends, or you can do a box stitch, but depending on your machine, how much room you need because of the feet that you're using for your machine, you might need a little bit more. Now for mine, again, because my straps are pretty thick, when you fold them over, see how thick this is? It's not going to look pretty if I try to sew it with my machine. So what I'm going to do instead is to just place rivets. The next step is to add the flap to the back pocket. So we're gonna take this is the back part, and you've got your 2 zippers. We're gonna put that to the side for now. And then you have your exterior and interior. We're going to set the interior aside for now, and we're just going to work with the exterior, back pocket, and the flap. So what you want to do first is turn your flap over to the wrong side, and then you're going to take some double-sided tape and tape this top edge here, press it down, remove the backing, and then you're going to fold this completely over where it ends right here. So fold that down. Now on the back piece, exterior, on the right side, you want to get your pattern. So I have my pattern here. It goes 1 inch down from the middle, and then there's a line here, and then it says flap edge placement, and that's where you want your flap to be. You're gonna go and get your flap, and then I'm gonna use double-sided tape for this. Place the flap right where the back edge is, right in the middle, and the middle is right here. This whole piece is 6 inches, so the middle would be 3 inches. So I've got 3 inches right here. And now what you're going to do is sew down right here at 1/8 inch, go up about 3/8 of an inch, and then sew across and then back down. So you're sewing a rectangle. Here it is sewn together. So now this whole piece will be referred to as the back pocket exterior, and then we're going to set this to the side. Now you need your piece E, accordion gusset, and you should have 4 of them. 2 will be used for the front pocket and 2 will be used for the back, but we're gonna go ahead and prep them now. That way they'll be ready. So you have 4 of them. I already did this one, so what you want is you want to take one and then fold the short sides together, clip it, do the same for this one, and then what you're going to do is sew the short edges together. That way you have a fold at the top, and then the bottom is sewn together. So now they're all stitched at the bottom so that the top is closed, the bottom is closed, and the sides are open. And you're gonna just flip it over so that it's right side out. roll the seams, flatten it, iron it, and do that for all 4 of them. You want to top stitch along the top, which is up here where the longest part is. All of them top stitched at the top at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Just gonna set 2 of these to the side. These are gonna be used for the front. And then we're gonna keep 2 for the back. So you have your 2 accordion gussets, and then you're going to need the back panel, and then your 2 zipper tapes, and then your interior pocket. Now for this next part, I'm going to set it up just like in the instructions picture. So if you're looking at the instructions, you can go along with me with how I set it up. And this is just to give you a visual of how it's going to go together. So I have the back pocket exterior, and then I have the 2 zipper tapes for the back pocket, and then I have the 2 accordion gussets, and then the interior back pocket. We're going to start with the zipper tapes, and what you need to do is go to the head of the zipper tape. So let's do this one at a time. The head of the zipper tape, and then you want to pull the teeth apart and fold this top edge over to the right edge at a 90-degree angle. So then it looks like this. And then you can baste it, but I just like to staple it because it's much faster. And then do the same for this left side. So there's one, and then we're going to do the same to the other side. Okay, there's the second one. This is my left zipper tape, and this is my right zipper tape. And what I'm going to do is separate the left, and I'm going to put this red clip on it so I know that this goes with the left side. And then I'm going to do the same for the right. I'm going to put this pink zipper tape, this pink clip on it so that I know it goes with the right. So red is on the left, pink is on the right. And then what I want to do is take these 2 that are on the outer edge of the zipper tape and set them to the side. So I'm gonna find, here's my tab for these, and I'm just gonna clip it on to these 2 so that I remember that this is gonna go on the back. Now if you're using the same zipper tape all throughout, it won't matter as much if you mix them up, but I just like keeping them together just so I know that they're going to match up perfectly. So you have the inner sides of the zipper tapes here. You're going to keep those, and then you're going to sew all of these together on this side. So that's going to be the next step. Now let's start moving this over here, and we're going to work with this interior piece. And eventually how you want it to end up is you want this piece to be like this, right? So start with the accordion gussets, and you're gonna put it on this right side. Measure 1 1/4 inch from the bottom, and that's where you're going to place the corner of this accordion gusset. And I suggest doing double-sided tape, especially for this part, because you've got zippers here, and the tape is going to make sure that your zipper stays flat and straight so that it doesn't wave as you're sewing it. Alright, measuring 1 1/4 inch again on this corner, lining up the edges right here. If you're using directional fabric, you're going to have one side that is right side up. So for example, this side could be right side up, and then the inside will be upside down if you're using directional. So you want to pay attention to that, and if you have a preference on which side you want to be right side up, then make sure that you're placing them in the correct way. Okay, so the right side is done for the accordion gusset. Now I'm going to do the left side. So we're going to move this to the side a little bit and focus on this piece. On your pattern, you have a left and right side where it says zipper head there, and it's 1 inch down from these corners, and that's where you want your zipper head to be. So we're going to measure 1 inch down from this corner. And that's where I'm going to put the zipper tape. And it's going to be right sides together. So you see the teeth folded downwards, or placed downwards, and then place it along here. Remove the backing, and then again the zipper head up here, right sides together, line up the edges. Make sure it's completely flat. And now the left side. Now you want this side to go over here, so you want to place it right sides together like this. We can clip it, or again, we can use double-sided tape. Okay, I ran out, so I have to open a new one, and this is the kind that I get here, and it's very strong. And then peel off the backing. And then you're going to place this right sides together. Match up the corners over here, and then line up the sides. And what you're going to do is you're going to sew the left and right side. So here's the left side all sewn together, right side all sewn together at 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then what you want to do is tuck in this flap inside here, and it's just to move this out of the way so we can stitch the top part together. So, okay, this is in all the way now. And what you want to do is you just want to line up these edges, and I'm gonna clip them together here and here. And right here. And you just want to sew 3/8 inch across, so up and then over here on this corner, and then back up again. So I'm gonna do that on my machine now. Here's what that looks like. I had to do another line of stitches down here because I didn't get the 3/8 seam allowance. So now what you're going to do is clip the corners. Just don't get any of your thread. And then I'm gonna lessen the bulk here by trimming just a little bit. And I backstitch over this part, so that's okay. I'm gonna do a triangle for these corners here. And then I'm just gonna cut a little bit more just on this corner because that's where it tends to be the bulkiest. Now I'm gonna turn this right side out. And again, just be very gentle if you have vinyl so you don't rip your vinyl apart. I'm just gently tugging and then pushing from the inside. You can see here that there's a bit of bulk right there on these corners. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this out just a little bit, and I'm gonna trim a little bit more of it so it's not so bad. Just be careful you don't cut through your threads or any other part of the bag. I'm going to do the same for this side. Okay, that looks okay. Now I'm going to push it out again. And then I'm just rolling the seams out. Okay. And that looks good. So you want to also press the seams here. Pull your zipper just slightly so that you're pulling the seams out. And here's what it looks like from the back. Okay, now we're going to top stitch these seams, and you want to do that with the accordion gussets inwards. So the gussets will be like this, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult when you're working with vinyl to make sure that these seams are flat. Here is the back pocket. See how it's top stitched all the way across the top, and then this, you can still open it, but it's top stitched here. Okay, so this is the back part of the bag, and if you want to take a break right here, this is a good place to stop and take a break, because the next part will be the front of the bag. Here's the front of the bag, the front pocket exterior. So I had these clipped together, and I'm gonna set these aside since I don't need them right now, and we're just gonna use this here. And this vinyl is pretty thick, so I didn't stabilize on the back, but I will add a little bit of Decaville Heavy right here because that's where the magnet is going to go. And then I'm gonna get my pattern, place it up here, and then this is where you need to place your magnet. It is 4.5 inches up from the center bottom. So you can use the pattern or you can measure with your ruler. And then what you need is the other piece, the other magnet piece. And this is the heavier one that I'm using. And then your washer. So you're gonna place your washer right here, right on top of that dot that you drew. And then draw the 2 lines inside the washer. And I'm gonna use my seam ripper to cut out these 2 lines. So now you're going to place the magnet on the exterior side of this pocket, or on the right side of the pocket, and then here's the wrong side. Place the washer right on top, and then I'm gonna fold in and I'm just gonna use my hammer just to flatten it a bit more. Okay, and then you can either use interfacing or tape to cover up this back part. So here's that. And then remember what we did here, where we placed these 2 zippers? That's what we're going to do with this. So now you're going to need some double-sided tape, and then your other 2 zipper tapes. So here's my zipper tapes. I'm gonna place this right side up, and then I'm gonna get the head of 1 zipper tape, fold it down, do the same thing that you did the first time. And then we're going to separate the zipper tapes again, just like we did the first time. So these 2. And then I'm going to take the same colors that I did before with my clips, because it's easy for me to remember. Red is left, and that one broke. I was just holding it. And then pink is right. And then I'm going to set that to the side. So I'm going to place this 1 inch down, and I'm going to use double-sided tape Okay, so that's the exterior, and now we have to do the interior. So here's my interior piece, and I've got my accordion gussets here. Remember, we're going to place them on the left and right sides, and it's going to be 1 1/4 inch from the bottom corners. Now we're gonna get some more double-sided tape. And then place these 2 right sides together with the accordion gussets in Now this time, since there's no flap at the top, there's nothing in the way up here, you're going to sew on the sides. So starting any corner, so we're going to say left corner, go all the way up, across, down here, and then back down here. So that's going to be 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So here's what this looks like. I went back over and stitched again on the left and right sides because I had those all wonky and they were not straight. So I straightened them up, and now you're going to clip the corners here, again removing the bulk from these seams. Okay, so now all of these corners are pushed out, and then you want to top stitch this and make sure you get your accordion gusset and put it in, and then you're going to top stitch left, up, and then the right at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Here's what it looks like top stitched. So this part is done. Now we're going to prepare the exterior sides, and this is where you're going to attach your strap anchors or just your regular D-rings if you're not using strap anchors. So you're going to need your two sides, and I used vinyl again for this, and then I stabilized with Decaville Light, and I have my two D-rings here along with 2 sets of rivets, and then I have my handle connector facing, and this is what I would have used on the handle if I was going to use D-rings or square rings for the handle, but I used strap anchors instead, so I saved that for the side pieces. And then I have the connectors. If you're using fabric with this and you didn't use a lot of stabilization, you have the option to add more right where you're going to add the D-rings on the wrong side, and you can use Decaville Heavy or another piece of Decaville Light. So I'm using vinyl with this, and that means I can use the hidden connectors method, but if you're using fabric, you won't be able to do that because once you cut it, it's going to fray. So you'll just have to use the normal way of attaching connectors, which is taking your connector piece and then folding it to the middle, folding long edges to the middle, and that will provide you with the 1 inch that you need for your connector. And then you're going to attach your D-ring right here, and then you'll fold these over. You can use double-sided tape to keep them in place or stitch down the long sides. That way they don't come apart. But here's how you put it together. Okay. So you fold it in, and then this part will be under, and this part will be on top so that you get the cleaner look on top. And then you'll put this on your side piece and then stitch a box to keep this piece down, and then you can rivet it right in the middle. So that's how you would do it if you had fabric sides. Okay, so for hidden connectors, I'm going to flip this over to the wrong side. And then there are 2 different placements that you can put them in. One is on the back and on the front, or you can place your connectors right in the middle. if you do back and front method, here's what it's going to look like. You're going to have your connector here, one on the front, and then the other one is on the back. So that's what it will look like if you do like a back and front look. But if you do your connectors right in the middle, when you have your bag already made, it will be like right here. Let me get the bag again. So if you do right in the middle, your connector will be here and here. For this one, I'm going to go in the middle, so I'm going to mark my centers first. Okay, there's the center. And then you want to go 1 inch down from the center. And then you want that line to be 1 inch wide. Now you want to cut slits right where you marked that line. So I'm going to use my rotary cutter just to get the middle part of it. And then I'm going to get the rest with my scissors. So on the right side of your, one side of it, you're going to place your facing, and you're going to place it right sides together with the side exterior, and then you're going to insert one end to the cut that you made. Here's what it looks like on the back, and then from the right side. And then what you're going to do is, after you do this, you're going to take this and sew right down here at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Here's what it looks like, and here's what it looks like on the wrong side. Now you're going to need your connector pieces here. You're going to get your connector piece. And one thing I will say for this part is, if you're I lost my train of thought. Okay, so alright, I'm going to fold this in the middle. This is 2 inches wide, so the middle is just right here at 1 inch. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and you only see a very small piece of this, so it's okay if it's not perfectly centered. You just want to make sure that it's 1 inch and it's not very crooked. Oh, I remember. Okay, so when you're sewing, you want to make sure that your thread matches your fabrics. So I have black fabrics or black vinyls here. So if I used white, you might see the white thread peeping through. You're going to place this with the folded side up, so it's right sides together. You're going to insert it through here, through this cut that you made, and you're basically doing the same thing as you did with the facing, except this time you're going upwards. So here's what it looks like from the front, and then here's what it looks like from the back. Okay, so you'll want to go at least 1/4 of an inch up to 1/2 an inch. So I'm just gonna match it up with the facing here, just to make it easier. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with this side. What you're going to do is you're gonna do the same thing that you did with the facing and sew 1/8 of an inch on this side. Here we are. That's what it looks like. Okay, now you're going to just push in this facing through to the back. And you're gonna place it through here, through the connectors, and then you're gonna flip the connectors over and insert it inside the cut. And then what you want to do now is just to keep all of this from, it's not going to pull through, right? Like I'm pulling on it pretty firmly, so it's not going to pull through, but I still like to just sew these pieces together. Okay, here it is, just sewn. Wait. Okay, just this part sewn. So these pieces, not this. So this is fairly thick. So what I'm going to do is just cut a little bit of the facing. Now this part is done. Connectors are in. Now we're going to put together the front piece, and you're going to need your 2 side pieces. I'm going to move them over to the side, and I'm going to set this up just so we can get a visual of how we want it to look. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to have my front pocket here, and then you're going to need one of your exterior front or back panel. So this is the front side, so you're going to need the front part, but both of mine are the same, so it doesn't matter which one I pick, but this is going to be the front. And then remember when we had our zippers pulled apart and then we set them to the side? So I have 2 of them, and this one says the back panel and this one doesn't say anything, so this is the front part. And remember, red is left, right is pink, so they match up. And this is how they're going to be placed together. We want the zippers to be attached to the sides, and then this will go behind. So essentially, when you sew it all together, this is what it's going to look like. So that's our goal here. First, let's start with the accordion gussets and the panel, the front panel. So we're going to just lay it up right here. And then again, remember how we measured 1 1/4 inch up from the corners to place the gusset? That's what we're going to do with this one also. So you want to measure 1 1/4 up from the corner, and that's where you will put your gusset. So for this, I'm going to use double-sided tape. And I'm going to go ahead and do it for this side also. So in the instructions, you're doing this one step at a time just because I don't want you to get confused. So we're just doing one side at a time, but on the video for right here, I'm just going to do double-sided tape for this also, just so I don't have to do it again. Okay, so 1¼ inch up, and then peel the backing off, and then place this right edge here. Line up the edges. So this is what you want it to look like. Now we're going to attach the zipper to the side, and you're going to need your ruler. It is 1 inch from the top, or you can use your pattern. It's on the pattern piece for the side of where you need to put the zipper head, but it's 1 inch. And then we're gonna go down. Okay, now we're going to remove the backing and then place the zipper head right sides together with the side. Make sure that you are lining up the edges. Press down. And now we're going to attach the side to this main piece here, and I'm going to use double-sided tape again. Remove the backing, and then place this right sides together. Match up the edges and the corners, so everything lines up really well. Here's what it looks like. Okay, so I use double-sided tape, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty strong, but I'm going to go ahead and put that there. And you're going to go on your machine and you're going to sew 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here's what it looks like. Okay, now in the instructions, you're supposed to flip it over and then top stitch here, but we're going to be top stitching on this side as well, so I'm going to save that for later. So this is just for this video, but you can go ahead and top stitch this now, but I just like going to my machine the least amount of times as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and put the left pieces together, and then I'll top stitch it all together when I'm done. So we're gonna get 1 1/4, and we already put our tape here, so no need to do that again. Oops. Okay, and now we're going to place this on this side, on the left side, line up the edges. And then here, you want to do 1 inch from the top for your zipper's head. Okay, now you're going to attach the side to the front piece, front panel. It all lines up. Now we're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down on this side, the left side. Here is what that looks like. So you have your right side and your left side. And now we're going to press this down. And again, you can just use your fingers, or you can use a seam roller, or if you're using fabrics, you can iron it. You want the seam to be on the side like that. Here is what the front looks like now. Everything is top stitched, everything is attached. Now all that's missing are the zippers. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach the zippers now. Zippers are installed, so now this whole piece is going to be referred to as the front. Now we're going to set this to the side and we're gonna work on the back piece. Okay, so the back piece, remember how we separated the zippers? Again, we're going to get the matching zipper tapes, and there were only two pieces, the ones that went with the front and then the ones that went with the back. So we used the front ones already, and here are the ones for the back. Again, I'm matching it up. Red is on left, pink is on the right. So here's how it's supposed to go together. You're basically doing the same thing to the back that you are with the front. So here are the two zippers matching up, and I just wanted you to have this visual so you knew what to expect when you're putting it together. Now we're going to take this back piece and we're just going to set it off to the side. That was just for visual so you could see what was going on and how we're going to have it together. And you're going to take your front panel, the one that you just finished with, and you're gonna lay it just like this, right side down. And we're gonna move these over to the side, but keep them where they're supposed to be. So this is how it's supposed to be. What you're gonna do is place this zipper with this side, right sides together, this zipper with this side, right sides together. And when you sew that together, then you can add it to this. But let's do one thing at a time. Let's start with the right side, and we're gonna use our double-sided tape, measure 1 inch from the top, and that's where you're going to start with your zipper head. That's 1 inch. Okay, so here's what that looks like from the front, right? And then this flap here, you want it right side down or wrong side up. You just want it facing like this. We're going to start with this left side, and we're going to measure 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom. Now I left my zipper tapes long, and there's an overhang here. You're not going to measure from the zipper tape. You're going to measure from the corner of the side piece. Okay. So 1/4 of an inch up. Now I'm going to go ahead and put double-sided tape on my accordion gusset. Go ahead and do it for this side also. Since you have your tape out already, you might as well. Okay, remove the backing. And now we're going to place this here. make sure you line up with the edges. Okay. Now we're going to take the remaining panel. This is the back panel. Since you already used the front panel, remember, we used it for this side. So you've only got one more panel left. This is the back panel. And we're going to place it right sides together, like this, on the left side. So we're going to take some more double-sided tape, go all the way from the corner. Okay, now I'm going to remove the backing and I'm going to line up the corner here, line up the edges. It's a little bit off. Okay. I think I was pulling, so that's why it was a little bit longer on the bottom and it didn't match the bottom corner. Okay, so make sure you don't pull your fabric or vinyl so that doesn't happen to you. Alright, so here it is, all put together, and we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch down this side. So here's what that looks like. Now we're going to repeat the process for the right side. And since this piece is already attached, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to match it up, but not too difficult to do. Again, match up your corners, make sure you're not pulling your fabric or vinyl. Just going to clip this together here because it's wanting to pull back from the side, so just clip that and then sew 1/4 of an inch on the right side. Here's how it looks. Okay, now we're just going to turn this right side out. Here's what the front looks like. Here's what the back looks like. Okay, now you're going to top stitch this right side and this left side. Here it is, all top stitched. Just tuck in these accordion zippers, or accordion gussets. Tuck them inside. Line this up. And then you can put in the rest of your zipper pulls. Here are the zipper pulls all placed. The back, front. You can see the pockets here. Now what you want to do is baste the front pieces together here, and then the back pieces together here. So I based the front and back, and I also went over the zipper tape just so I don't accidentally pull this out. You can cut down your zipper tape just a little bit, not too much. I would still leave a little bit of overhang just so your tape doesn't pull out. Here's the bottom piece, and you want just the exterior. You don't need the interior just yet. Let's turn this inside out. Tuck the flap in. If you haven't marked your centers, you should do it now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut. This is another way that you can mark your centers, is by cutting little tiny triangles instead of using a marker or a pen. And then I'm going to do the same for this. But actually for this one I'm just going to use a marker because I don't want to accidentally cut through my my basting stitches. Okay, so lining up the middle and then clip them together. And because this is a square bottom, we're going to do each side one at a time instead of doing the whole thing all around like you would with a curved bottom or a curved gusset. You're going to start at 3/8 inch and stop at 3/8 in or out. So start and stop 3/8, and that should be fairly easy to do if you use a stabilizer because it is exactly at 3/8 inch, so you know exactly where to stop. One part is stitched down. Now we're going to do the other side. Line up your centers. Here are the long sides sewn together, the short sides still open. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clip just some of the corners, or just a little bit of the corners. So make sure that your side is out of the way. You don't want to clip that, you just want to clip the bottom panel. And I'm gonna clip, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so you see where you stopped right here, or you started and stopped at 3/8 of an inch. So you just want to cut right here at a scant 3/8. So that means just don't go to the full 3/8, just a little bit. See how close it is to the 3/8 seam allowance area? You're going to do the same for this side. And what that does is helps you get a clean corner. So you're going to push this down so that the side and the bottom panel match up. And then you're going to fold this in the corner. You're going to push it down a little bit and see how it just nests in there and it's just snug. So you can go ahead and clip that down as well. Do the same thing for this side. You're just going to fold this little piece in that you cut on the corner, fold it in, push this corner down so it's in this little groove area, and clip it. And that way you have this nice corner, these two corners here. Now we're going to do the same for this side. Here's the bottom all sewn together. If you want to add extra security to your bag, you can sew another line of stitches all the way around at 1/4 inch seam allowance and then trim the bulk. Just make sure you don't trim your zipper tape anymore. So if you're doing the birthing method, you do need to keep your bag just like this, the exterior just like this, because you're going to be sewing the interior to it inside out. If you are doing the drop-in method and then binding at the top, then you can go ahead and turn your bag right side out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. If you have vinyl, you might have a little bit of trouble turning this right side out, but it shouldn't be too difficult because you have such a big hole to work with to turn it right side out. But you can also use a hair dryer or a mini space heater to just warm up your vinyl a little bit, but make sure you're not too close to it. Your vinyl isn't too close to it, otherwise it'll melt. And then I'm just gonna push the seams out so the bottom of the bag isn't so puffy looking and the seams look more crisp. And set this to the side because we're going to work on the interior now. So this is a good place to stop and take a break. We've finished our exterior and now we're going to work on our interior. So that means we're 2/3 of the way through and we're very close to finishing. So let's start with the interior zipper pocket. So you're going to need your zipper pocket fabric and then your tape and your overlay. So here's my overlay, here's the zipper tape, and of course your zipper pull. We're going to start by setting the zipper pocket together with the zipper tape. So you want to go ahead and place this zipper tape right side up with the zipper pocket right side up and clip those together. And then you're going to sew across the top at 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then you're going to place this bottom side up and you want to place it on the wrong side of the zipper tape. So right side of the zipper pocket on the wrong side of the zipper tape. And we're just going to clip this together. And then sew it at 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way across. So here's what it looks like. And then we can go ahead and add our zipper tape to it now. So here's the zipper tape added. And then we're gonna get our zipper overlay. And if you haven't cut your overlay out, you can go ahead and do that now. And it is, if you want to measure it, it's 1/2 inch from the bottom, 1/2 inch from the top, and then 3/8 inch from the sides. So you can cut out this little window here. And then we're going to get one of the interior bottom panels. You just need one for now. Both of mine are the same, so we'll take this one. And then we're going to place this right on top. We're going to place it at 3/4 inch seam allowance right in the middle. So I'm just going to center this on my cutting table so I can see where my center is. And get my ruler, measure 3/4. I'm going to use double-sided tape to place this. And then I'm gonna just get it centered here. I have these two labels that I'm going to use. This is my shop label. So now we can go ahead and sew the outside edges. Here's my overlay sewn onto the bottom interior panel, and you don't want to backstitch with this. You want to leave long tails and then pull the threads through to the back. So I'm gonna do that now. Let me zoom in so you can see. So I'm pulling the threads on the back and then getting the threads to come out from the front. I'm gonna get my other tail here and pull through. So you see there's no threads outside or on the right side. So all the threads are on the wrong side. And then I'm gonna tie them together. This is good. And now what you want to do is cut out a hole here so that you can put your zipper through, or you can see your zipper through it. So I'm gonna get my rotary cutter and I'm just gonna cut right in the middle here on the panel. I'm not gonna touch the overlay at all. So I just cut a little bit, and then I'm gonna take my scissors. I'm going to continue to cut down, all the way down, and I'm going to go in to the back of this overlay. You can't even see it, sorry. Okay, so it's not very pretty back here, but on the right side where it matters, it looks really good. So now you're going to take, let me zoom out. You're going to take your zipper pocket and you want to place it behind, hang on, okay. You want to place it behind here, and you want to have the zipper centered right in there. So I'm going to use double-sided tape to make that happen. So let's start by putting the bottom down first. Take off the backing. And then I'm gonna try to get it as straight as I possibly can. Okay, here's what it looks like now. This looks pretty straight. So now what you want to do is flip this pocket up. That way it's out of the way, but just be careful you don't pull your zipper tape loose from the back panel. So you want to flip it upwards like that. And then you're going to sew 1/8 of an inch from this interior bottom side. And again, don't backstitch. Leave long tails on your threads on both the starting and ending sides. Okay, so I've left long tails in the starting and ending sides, and then here's what the back looks like. And then here. Now what you want to do is sew the short side, and then so starting from the left up across the top and then back down. So when you start sewing, you want to place your needle right where you left off when you sewed the bottom part. So start here, place your needle down, go all the way up, and then you want to end at exactly where you placed your last stitch. And then you want to make sure also that your pocket is down. So you're sewing this side and this part is clear. All sides are sewn together. I left long threads, so now I'm going to pull the threads through to the back. Okay, so you want to sew the sides of your pocket, and you want to just pull these, pull the panel back and sew down the pocket edge so that these sides aren't open. And then you're going to do the same for this side. Fold it over and sew from the top all the way down. Here's what it looks like. This piece is finished, so let's go ahead and work on the zipper plackets. You're going to need your zipper plackets. There's 2 pieces for that, and your zipper tape. And there's just 1 tape for that. So you've got your plackets here. And then your zipper here. And what you want to do is pull down the zipper teeth here. You want to separate them and pull them back at a 90-degree angle, just like you did with the other zipper tapes for the outside. We're going to separate the zipper tapes, so you've got 2 sides, 2 plackets, 2 zippers, and then you want to put double-sided tape on one long edge of each placket. So let's start with the top one. If you're using directional fabric, you're going to want to make sure that you're paying attention to where your zippers go, because you might end up with upside down plackets or opposing graphics for your directional fabric. So then you want to place your zipper tapes, and you'll know which one goes where, because this one has the edges. Oh, I forgot to say, okay, so if you're using fabric, you want to fold the short ends in. That way you don't have raw edges on the outside. But since I'm using vinyl, I'm just going to leave the raw edges out. And that'll be okay. But yes, with fabric you want to fold in your short edges, that way you don't have raw edges that are fraying. So you're going to remove the rest of your double-sided tape and then fold this over. Fold this over to the other side so that your plackets are right sides together. Okay, and now you're ready to sew 1/4 inch down this side and then 1/4 inch down this side for both plackets. But actually, on second thought, I'm gonna go ahead and fold in my short edges here because this vinyl is pretty thin, so it's not going to be super bulky. And that's what I was worried about. Here are the plackets sewn. Then I'm going to turn it right side out. And now what you want to do is sew all around, starting from the interior, or the raw sides, starting here all the way around at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Here are the zipper plackets all stitched, and then we're gonna place the zipper plackets on the panel, the interior panels. So you want to gather both of your interior panels and your interior top panels. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so you've got your two plackets, your two top interior panels, and then your two bottom interior panels. Alright, let's start with the back part of your bag. So we'll start with this side and these pieces. So you want this back piece. I'm just going to center it on my cutting mat. This part here, and then your placket. And you want to center your placket on your panel. So let me get that here. Okay, that's centered. And then you want to, if you want to use double-sided tape, you can, or you can just leave it like this and clip everything all together, or you can also baste it now and then sew everything together after. But I'm going to clip everything together first and then sew everything at once. So let's take the top part and place it right sides together with this bottom piece. Make sure I keep all my edges together. Alright, so here's what this looks like. In the instructions, you're doing all of these one at a time, but since you're watching the video, let's go ahead and save some time for ourselves and set everything up together before we sew. That way we're not going back and forth. So this back part is done. Now we're going to go to the front side of your interior bag. now what we're going to do is go to our machine and sew a 3/8 inch seam allowance on this edge here. Do the same for this other panel. Here they are sewn together, and then what you're going to do next is flip the top part up. Make sure the seam is down, so you want the seam this way, going downwards. And then we're going to top stitch right here, right along this edge at 1/8 inch seam allowance. We're going to do the same for this one. Here's what you should have: the front and back panels, interior panels sewn together. We're going to move this to the side, and we're going to get our side, interior, bottom, and top, and then we're going to sew these together. And you want to place them right sides together at the top, and then sew that side down. Do the same for this side, and sew this edge down, and you want to sew at 3/8 inch seam allowance. And once you're done with that, you're going to flip it up. You're going to flip it up, and then you're going to top stitch. So let me go ahead and do those and show you what it looks like. And here's what that looks like all stitched together. So you have your seams going downwards and then top stitched. Now that both of the sides are finished and both of the interior panels are finished, now we're going to assemble the whole interior part of the bag. So let's start with the back panel, and we're just going to take these two sides and place them right sides together on the left edges of the panel. I'll start with the right side. And you want to make sure that your zipper tape is out of the way and you don't accidentally sew it to the side. So I'm going to place it over there with a clip. When I sew these side pieces together to the panel, I'm going to start at 3/8 inch seam allowance at the top of the bag. I'm going to sew down for about an inch and pause, and then lift up my needle, shift my bag over, and start sewing at 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to increase the seam allowance as I go down. So 3/8 and then 1/2 inch. And the reason for that is because I'm trying to reduce the looseness of the interior of the bag, but you still need the 3/8 inch seam allowance at the top so that the top of the bag for the interior will match the top of the bag for the exterior. Here's my back panel with the two side on the side. And let me zoom in so you can see this part here. Okay, so at the top I started at 3/8 inch seam allowance. I paused, lifted up my needle, and shifted my bag over so that I would have 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then I went all the way down. Okay, now we're going to add the front panel to this. Here's my front panel, and I'm going to place it right sides together. Let me tuck this in first. Okay, place it right sides together with the sides. So again, for this one, we're going to do the same thing with the seams. Start at 3/8 inch at the top, move over to 1/2 inch. Same with the left side. Here's what the front part looks like. All of the 4 sides are complete, and what I'm going to do is trim a little bit of the sides. That way it's not so bulky. Here we go. I trimmed the seams down so that it's not so bulky on all 4 corners. And now this part is finished. Now all we have to do is add our bottom panel to the bottom part of the bag. So we're going to essentially do the same thing as we did with the exterior part. And we're going to start by finding the center. And now we're going to place the bottom panel right sides together. Here's what it looks like with the bottom panel sewed on, and I just sewed the long sides here and here at 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then remember how we snipped part of the corners on the exterior? We're going to do the same. It's not standing up. Hang on a second. We're going to do the same with this part, and I'm just gonna snip here and here, and then do the same for this side. And I'm only doing the bottom panel. I'm not cutting into anything else. And then we're going to place these together, clip it, and then fold this end here, and then press it and push it into the corner over here. And that will give you that nice boxed corner. Okay, both short sides are clipped, and now we're going to sew them at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here's the bottom piece all sewed in, and then I'm going to trim the bulk. That way the seams aren't too bulky when we put the interior and exterior together. Okay, now for the assembly, you have 2 choices. You've got the choice to do berthing, which is basically placing the interior and exterior right sides together, sewing across the top, and then leaving a gap, and then pulling it out right side out. And that's in the instructions. But for this bag, I'm doing binding because my bag is far too bulky for that, and it's not going to look as good if I try to berth this on the top. So I'm doing binding, and the first step is to have your bag exterior right side out, and then have your interior just like this. It's basically right side out because, well, no, technically it's not right side out, but this is the correct way to have it. So you're going to get your interior and push it inside your interior. Okay, see, this is backwards because this is the back of the bag. So here we go. This is the back of the bag, right? And this is the back of the interior. So now we have it, and you're just going to press this interior into the exterior, and you see how it's not very baggy in here, right? But the sides or the tops are still going to line up, and that's why we did the seam allowance the way we did for the interior of the bag. Now we're going to clip this whole top piece together, and we want to line up all of these seams. So right here, where this seam is, line it up with the exterior seam over here. And then I'm gonna do the same for this seam here. And you can do opposite seams instead of putting the seams all in the same direction. That way it's not so bulky. So like here, my interior seam is going that way, and then for this one, for the exterior, the seam is going that way also. So if when you put it together, this part's going to be super bulky. So what you can do is just flip this seam over to the right side, and then just have where they connect line up together. And that way you don't have a super bulky part where the seams are facing together. Now that we have the whole bag clipped all the way around at the top, we're going to sew it at 3/16 inch seam allowance, which is just a little bit smaller than 1/4 inch seam allowance. That way you don't see your stitches when you put on your binding. Now when you sew this, make sure that your plackets are out of the way and you don't accidentally sew your plackets to your bag. Here's what the bag looks like with the exterior and interior sewn together. We're going to place our bag, or our binding, onto the top of the bag. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to place one side of it, right sides together, with the back side. This is where you're going to see the connection on the binding, so that's why I'm putting it on the back. That way it's not so noticeable. And then I'm just going to clip all the way around. I forgot to say that in the beginning, when you have the binding on, you want to fold this in at about 3/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to use some double-sided tape here just to make sure it doesn't come undone before I sew it in. So I'm just going to fold this in at about 3/8 inch or 1/4 inch, whichever one you feel comfortable with. And that's going to be at the starting point, right? And then when you get to the end, this is going to overlap over it, and you're just going to clip this into place. And then you're going to sew all the way around at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here's what it looks like with the binding sewn on. And before I came back here, I made sure that I put my stitch length back to the way it usually is, which is at a 4 for me. So we're going to add some double-sided tape. I'm going to use 1/4 of an inch wide double-sided tape this time. And we're going to place it on the other side of the binding where we haven't sewn yet. So all the way across here. Okay, now we have the tape all the way around, and we're gonna just pull this up, pull up the binding, and we're going to remove the backing on the double-sided tape. I'm going to make sure this is up all the way. So just tug at it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this, this top edge of the binding and fold it until we meet with the top edge of the bag. So it's going to look like, here, let me do this side here. Okay. It's gonna look like this. Like that. You see how the edges meet? Okay, you want to do that for the rest of the bag. So I forgot to tell you that if you used vinyl for all of your bag and you have vinyl for the top of your bag, but you don't have an industrial, or you have a machine that you usually use vinyl on, but you don't think it can go through all of these layers, what you can do is remove one of the layers by just cutting your binding to 1 1/4 inch, so that this top part will just be raw edges, and all you do is just fold it over to the back so that at the front you have this side sewn together, but at the back you will have a raw edge binding. And that should be okay with your machine. But if it's not and you need to remove one more layer for the binding, then you can cut the binding at 1 inch wide, and you can just fold. Let me give you an example. So here's, like, we'll say this is 1 inch, and you can just place the binding on top of your bag and just fold it over like that, and then sew all the way across, and that way you will have raw binding on the outside and raw binding on the inside, but it's only an added of 2 layers of vinyl instead of 4 or 3 layers that you would have if you did it this way with the full 1 1/2 or 1/4 inch of binding. Okay, hopefully that all made sense to you, but let's continue with this binding here. Okay, so here's what the bag looks like now. I removed my clips because you don't need the clips. I just had them there for pictures, to take a picture of it and just to show you what it's supposed to be like. Okay, so now you have the raw edge of the binding meeting the raw edge of the bag, and now what you want to do is take some more double-sided tape, and I'm just going to cut a little bit off so I can do this a little bit easier. You want to place it right here on the raw edge of the bag. Now what you're going to do is you're going to peel off the double-sided tape backing. Let me get it. Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the binding and you're going to fold it over where the raw edge is. You're going to fold it over to the inside of the bag, and don't pull on it, don't pull up on it too hard. You just want it over the edge of the bag, and then clip and continue to go all the way around. My fingers keep getting stuck. Okay, because I used vinyl here, it's a little bit thick, so I'm gonna clip the inside of this just a little bit, but only to where you can't see it from the outside. And then I'm gonna clip the inside of this a little bit, just because it's very bulky back here. Okay, hopefully that removes a bit of the bulk. I already know that this part will be a little bit more difficult to sew than the rest of the binding. So I'm going to take extra care when I'm sewing over this part of the bag. Here's what the bag looks like outside, inside. So what happens is when you fold this over here, you see that the outside part is slightly shorter than the inside part, just slightly. So what you want to do when you sew is you want to have your bag like this. You want to just press it down as much as you can and have the needle's going down, right? Let me zoom in for you. The needle's here. You want to sew right here where the seam is. So right on that seam, not on the binding, on the seam. And what that does is that you don't see any stitches on the outside of your bag. You want to use the same color thread as the bag, right? Or as close as you can. That way you can't see any of the threads going into the seam. And because the inside part is longer than the outside part, when it sews into the bag, into the inside, the stitches will be right, they'll be right here. They'll be very close to the edge. But if all of your edges are lined up and the way they're supposed to be, then all of your stitches will be right inside the binding, and that will close up your entire binding. So it's very important to have your binding as exact as you can. You want the inside part of the binding to be wider than the outside part of the binding. Okay, so when you sew this, go slow and try to get it as close to the seam as you can. Take your time. Here's the bag, the binding sewn together, and over here I messed up a little bit and got the binding, but here you can see that the stitches are right in between the binding and the bag, and then the binding is caught on the inside. So this is what you want it to look like. Alright, so the binding is done. Now we do the zipper. My zipper is on, and now you need your zipper end. And you're just going to add some double-sided tape to the short sides here and here. Remove the backing. Okay, fold it over to this side. And now we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch all the way around the raw edges. So down this side, up here, and over here. You can also sew this side down if you like. Here's the bag. It's so pretty. I love it so much. So on the front, you can, let me turn this around, you can open this and have a little pocket right here. And it doesn't fall open because you have the accordion gussets, and then zip it back up, and you have the same pocket right here on the back, and you can zip it down to open it up a little bit more. But I love these pockets on the outsides. Inside, and then you can carry it by the handle, or you can carry it by the shoulder. And I have these chains that I'm going to use for this bag, and it just attaches to the side connectors here, and now I can carry it on the shoulder. But if you don't have chains, you can make your own straps. You can use webbing, or you can use seatbelt straps, or you can make your own straps. So here's what making your own strap would look like. This is one I made with vinyl. It's fairly thick. Or you can use seatbelt webbing, and here's what that looks like. And if you use 1 inch wide, any kind of webbing, then you just need your normal 1 inch hardwares. But if you want to use 1/2 inch, you are going to need some 1/2 inch hardware. And I have instructions on how to make your own straps for the 1.5 inch. This is my other bag that I made previously, and I have the connectors here and here, and I used anchors for them. I use anchors up here too. So I used 1.5 inch straps for this. Let me shorten it up so you can see a little bit more of it. So again, instructions for how to make 1.5 inch straps is in the PDF file instructions. I won't be I won't be recording it for this video, but you can have 1 inch swivel hooks, and then have the connectors that are in the pattern and have them connected to 1.5 inch, and you just need 1.5 inch rectangle ring and 1.5 inch slider adjuster. So that's this bag. I'm looking at this here and this part, and it looks okay, but I think we can increase the quality of it a little bit more by adding these strap ends to it. And you can choose to do this or not. It's really up to you. It's not in the instructions, but if you just want to just make it look a little bit better, you can add these. Look at how good that looks. So I still have to add the screws to it, but it looks so nice. It looks much better now. I love it. I hope that when you make this bag, your own Mirabel bag, that you show it on social media. I would love to see it. I have a Facebook group, I have a TikTok, and I have an Instagram.